Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. All right, let's see here. So I want to tell you a few things to orient us before I get started. So first, my name is Tina. I'm from the United States of New York. It's a sovereign nation right now. We're fighting to get a flag recognized. I'm from upstate New York, from Syracuse. That's where I was born and raised, but I live in Manhattan, which is the southern region of the nation. This is Mary Todd Lincoln. She is the wife of our 16th president, well, of the United States of America's 16th president. This is what she looks like. I will not argue with you. You need to believe this. This is exactly what Mary Todd Lincoln looks like. And I'm going to be talking to you today about the power of peripheral vision. So ignore the slides. They're just words. So if you feel like you feel the impulse to close your eyes when I'm talking, that's okay. If you feel the impulse to stare out in space, that's okay too. I don't need to look at you at all, and you don't need to look at me. The purpose of this talk is for you to understand how important it is to notice things without even trying, and how that we need to build that muscle to do that. That's quiet leadership, and that's how I became a leader. All right, so there's this play. It shattered me the first time I saw it on Broadway. It was called An Enemy of the People. It's a 200-year-old play. Small town, big reputation. They're spas, they're public spas or public baths, or what we call like hot springs in the United States, are very popular. It's a big tourist boon. Their economy relies entirely on these baths and people coming to them and soaking and spending a lot of money. One day, this doctor, though, quietly notices that the water is poisoned. And instead of the townspeople saying, "Oh my God, thanks for noticing," they're like, "Dude, you really need to shut up. We can't lose this money." Because his plan, he proposes that they shut down the spas and then they rebuild them and clean them so that people no longer get sick. His brother is the mayor of this town, and he tells his brother, like, "You don't understand. We really need to shut down now. People are gonna get sick and they'll probably die." And his brother is like, "Well, people are gonna die anyway. We can't lose this money." And he starts to make enemies all through the town. He becomes a villain. He becomes a threat because they can't. This is their income. Nothing else is bigger than these public springs. And at a certain point, his brother says, "Either you be quiet or I'm going to tell people you're insane." And remember, this is 1882. Being called insane is a death sentence. You lose your livelihood. You may be in prison. You definitely will be exiled. And that's what happened to him. He was a doctor. He lost his practice. His daughter was a teacher. She lost her job. Anyone associated with him lost their job. Jeremy Strong, the American actor, played this doctor on Broadway. He won his Tony for that. And I was sitting kind of like where you're sitting, Jonathan. And at one point, after he tried to continue to make his case, he just stared out into the audience. And he kept looking. Like, what? Raise your hand if you've ever made that face. Like, if you've ever been like, does anybody else see this? What is happening here? Why am I the only one who's willing to speak up? And that was the moment where that play kind of broke me, because he was the only one. Even people who agreed with him were too afraid to speak up. And I remember thinking, this is what it feels like to notice something that no one else wants to deal with. To speak up and then to look around and say, am I the only one? So this story isn't about a play, it's about leadership. The kind that doesn't audition for the spotlight, the kind that notices when everyone else is stepping over. Okay, so I come from content. I also love theater. Surprise. I've been the person who sits in the corner of a meeting and I don't speak until I've read the temperature, the body language, the tension behind what's going on in a meeting. I've also been the person who's been told, raise your hand if you've heard this, you should talk more. Be bold. Use your voice. You're too quiet. You won't be promoted if you don't use your voice more. Be like that person who's loud and outspoken. Now, I want to be clear. There are very different types of communication skills and styles and leadership styles, learning styles. So this is not a, this one is bad, this one is great. I really want to just emphasize, I'm talking to the people who have been told that their quietness is not valuable. This is for you. The rest of you all who are bold, we need you. We need you to carry that flag and like bust through doors. But we are right behind you. The thinkers, the ones who like see the path and connect the dots, but we're in the meeting just processing, we're there too, and our skills are valid too. So that's why I'm talking to you. So do not go back and say, well, Tina said that you're too loud and you're no good. That's not what I'm saying. So for some of us, like silence is not shyness, it's a strategy. My observation skills weren't born from creative writing exercises. They were kind of like survival tools. So I've been taught that mistakes aren't free for people like me. I don't get the grace. My emotion can sometimes be read as aggression. And that speaking too early can be seen as presumptuous or uppity. So I watch, I process, I wait. Not because I'm afraid, but because I know how much power lives in knowing the room before you try to steer it. So the spotlight versus peripheral vision. You know what happens when you live in the spotlight? You stop looking around. You ask any actor who stands on stage, this probably is not a good idea or a good example, but when an actor is on stage and the spotlight is in their face, they can't see anything. It's like you ask anyone, they can only see things maybe like this close around them. But when you sit in the audience in the dark, you can see everything. You can see the whole proscenium. You can see what the ensemble is doing. You have a full picture. And I'm not saying that being in the spotlight is wrong, because we all have to be in the spotlight at some point, whether it's leadership, whether we're parents, whatever we're doing. It's not bad to be in the spotlight. It's bad to always be in the spotlight and always seek that and believe that that is the only way to lead, because you're missing stuff. You really can't see past 2 or 3 rows or in the audience. But again, when I have sat in the audience quietly, and I'm using this word, this symbolically, I've sat in the audience in meetings, in environments, and I've just observed. You will see a lot of my colleagues are like, are you there? Are you hello? Because I will sit there. This is my face in most meetings. This is my favorite face in meetings, but it puts people off. And what I'm doing is I'm listening, I'm processing. I'm cutting through the noise. I'm trying to figure out, like, why is that person in the corner not speaking? Or why is that person's voice shaky when they're trying to make their point? What's happening there? And I'm usually able to cut through the noise that way. You know that in the United States, we have this sign on our car mirrors that says, objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. That's a safety warning, but it should actually be a world view. Peripheral vision is how you scan the room, again, before you steer it. Okay, let's talk about Hamlet now. All right, this is not a quiz, don't worry, it's not gonna be boring, because I believe that William Marquise Tyrone Shakespeare is not boring. He is extremely messy. So Hamlet's got a problem. His uncle murdered his dad, married his wife, and stole the throne. That's crazy. He stages a play, right? So Hamlet's dad comes to him in a dream as a ghost, and he says, son, I was murdered, all right? My brother did it. You need to figure it out. And Hamlet was like, Dad, everybody already thinks I'm crazy. I'm not doing this. And first of all, I'm talking to you, and I don't even know if you're here. So what Hamlet does, instead of making a rash decision, he has a hypothesis, right? This is leadership. He has a hypothesis. He's like, Claudius killed my dad, married my mom, stole the throne that was supposed to be mine. But I'm not going to accuse him, and I'm not going to go running around telling people. What I'm going to do is stage a play. Have you ever heard of the play within a play? That comes from Hamlet. So what he does is he stages a play, that reenacts the murder in front of his family. And he invites his mom and his stepdad, the murderer. And he sets the tone, he sets it out, and he just sits in a corner and he watches. He doesn't even sit in the audience with everyone else, he watches. Because what he's doing is watching his uncle's reaction. And he knows that when that murder is reenacted, if his uncle flinches or does anything odd, he's like, got him. And there's a famous saying that says, the play's the thing wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king. That's a really famous line from the play. And that's what Hamlet does. He sets the stage. This is what quiet leadership is. You set the stage, you step back, and you let the truth unveil itself. That's how quiet leaders read the room. We observe not to judge, but to know. And that's what Hamlet did. And it was successful. He got him. Content people are emotional architects, right? We take panic and translate it into, we're here to help. We take shame, user shame, like I can't log into my account or I lost this, and we convert it into trust. Confusion becomes clarity, and sometimes rage just needs a really good FAQ. That's all it needs. This isn't writing, it's nervous system regulation for customers, okay? You better write that down. It's nervous system regulation for customers with line breaks. That's emotional intelligence at scale. That's what we do. I'm boosting you up, all right? This because you're my people, and we don't always get this when we're out in the real world. When the water's poisoned, or the onboarding experience is broken, or the chat is too quiet, we clock it fast. And why? Because when you've spent your whole career trying to justify its existence or explaining things to people who still think content comes last or we'll get to content later, you start to see the whole system for what it is. When you've lived on the edge of power, you learn to see the ripple before the splash, the pattern before the collapse, because your safety depends on it and your livelihood depends on it. Okay, let's take a breather, intermission. Or better yet, let's take a blackout. Sleep No More was an immersive show in New York City. It closed a few months ago and it was the end of an era. It wasn't your typical play. There were no rows of seats. It was in a former hotel in New York City, 6 stories. The entire audience wore masks. And you walked around those 6 floors exploring the play, the show. And the actors wandered around with you and you were able to like see things that you wouldn't normally see because you were masked and you were not required to talk. You could not talk. And so the actors were moving like spirits, right? You follow them, you notice things, strange things. And I love that show because when you're quiet and hidden, the entire story opens up to you. And so that's what great leadership feels like sometimes. It's masked, it's silent, you're watching from the edges, not to disappear, right? I'm not telling you to hide your talent or to hide your presence. I want you to take up space. But you would need to like disappear, meaning close your mouth, to see what you're missing so you can make things better. Okay, Act 3, we're almost there. The Flick is a 3-hour play where hardly anyone talks. You guys, I almost walked out of this thing, let me tell you. But I'm glad I stayed because nothing really happens. There's only 3 characters in this play. They're cleaning up a movie theater. That's their job and that's what they do. And it's like in and out and it's like day to day, showing what their life is like as they clean the movie theater after people trash it with popcorn and candy boxes and everything. They sweep the popcorn, they rewind the film, they pass the time with awkward half conversations. And yet, you start to notice things. Who shoulders the invisible labor? Who among those 3 people waits to speak when all 3 of them are talking? Who desperately wants connection but never interrupts? You start reading people's language. You start reading in between the lines when no one is saying anything. There's like a whole conversation happening when no one is speaking. The Flick is a masterclass in micro-observation. It won the Pulitzer Prize in 2014. And it's the kind of stillness that reveals entire systems cracking beneath the surface. And when you're a design leader, when you're a leader, period, that's kind of your job, to be able to recognize those cracks beneath the surface. That's when your team starts to disintegrate. By the time someone says, I'm quitting or I'm unhappy, it's done. You're supposed to, as a great leader, head that off. And the only way you can do that is understanding your team and knowing your team, and not always being up here performing and rah-rah-rahing. You have to be able to balance both. And for those of you who are that quiet leader, but for some reason you're not getting the visibility that you need, like this is for you. This is how you do that. I want you to like lean into it, like Michael Jackson in Smooth Criminal, like lean into it. Then there's The Piano Lesson by August Wilson, one of my favorite plays. So there's this man who wants to sell the family piano. It's an heirloom. He wants to sell it so he can go buy land. He's like, I'm tired of this piano. It holds too much pain. The piano has hand carvings of all of their ancestors who were enslaved. And so they've kept this piano, this black family in America, in the South, they've kept this piano as an heirloom, but it causes too much pain. And the eldest son is like, I'm tired of it. I don't even want to see it. I want to go buy land, start a business. And his sister, Bernice, is like, we're not selling it. It means too much to us. Boy Willie, that's the brother's name. He's loud. He's rambunctious. He is a leader, a leader. People listen to him. I mean, he's really loud, by the way. You can see it on Netflix. There's a rendition of the play, and the actor who plays Boy Willie is annoyingly loud. It's Denzel Washington's son. I love him, but still. But the point is, the piano, to Bernice, the piano isn't just furniture. It's an heirloom, and it's filled with history, grief, resilience, legacy. She sees value that no one else sees because they're looking on the surface. She doesn't shout, she doesn't argue, she just simply holds the line. That's quiet leadership as well. Spoiler alert, they don't sell that piano because of how she holds the line. Her quiet leadership is rooted in generational knowing. Now, for Bernice, it's because like she's leading like with her whole lineage in the room. Like she's like, I'm not doing this. My family is watching, our ancestors are watching, and for what that looks like for us is like being deeply rooted in our knowledge and our skill sets. Like you don't have to perform, you know what you know. Stand firm on that. You've been doing this for a long time, you've studied it, we've written books, we know what we know. So that's what it means when I say lead with your whole lineage in the room. You stand firm that what you know is rooted and it is right. And it's also kind of humble. Like you don't have to flash. If that is your style though, go ahead and do what you need to do. But what I'm saying is that just, you don't have to. So there are different types of leadership styles. For a long time, I thought I had to apologize for the way I lead. I thought my quiet made me less ready, so I got good, really good. I tried to outperform everyone around me just to earn the grace I was really given. I watch, I listen, and I learned I don't lead this way because I had to. I lead this way because it works, because it's who I am. I lead through nuance because observation is leadership's first language. And that's just not how I build content teams. That's how now I lead full stack design teams, researchers, product designers, engineers, system thinkers. Because when you lead from the margins, meaning like you just step back a little bit, you learn how to hold this whole system in view. You see who's being left out, you hear what's not being said, you design for what no one has named yet. That's not hesitation, that's precision. That's not passivity, that's power. And if that sounds like you, own it. Because if that's not leadership, then I don't know what is. Thank you.